Hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. It's lunchtime for me here and just got my coffee. And I was just pondering a question, and a question that I have had a lot in my coaching this week. People asking me, Sonia, how can I get my colleagues to do this? How can I get my boss to think in this way? How can I get my partner to agree maybe to this? So it's all been around, how do I get somebody else to do something, to agree with me, to turn up in a particular way. And there's been some interesting conversations around that this week. So if you don't know me, my name's Sonia Gavira, and I've been a leadership and success coach for about 20 years now. And I'm here to share some of the things that my clients are going through that I think might be interesting for all of us to ponder on, and to let you know about some of my thoughts around leadership in particular today. So when it comes to this question of, Sonia, how can I get somebody else to do something? I always, and this is something that I have myself. So there are plenty of examples that from my life when I really need to think about this. And I always have a conversation around the fact that actually you can't get anybody else to do anything. You can try, but you can't. It has to come from them. So if you want somebody to have a different reaction to you, a different reaction to what you're talking to them about, if you want them to do something different, what I urge you to do is ask yourself, what is it that you need to change? So what is it that I need to do in order to get a different reaction from somebody else? What is it that I need to express in order to get a different reaction from somebody else? So, there are plenty of times there are plenty of examples today, but I was just trying to think of some examples in the past when I've been in a situation where I have been really pushing for a different reaction from somebody else. And I remember in the days when I was in marketing, and in a couple of my roles, I ended up working really, really closely with the sales team. And all of that came from this thing that I saw. So in one of the situations, I was working for a small electricals company. And we were in marketing, busy producing new products and creating new ranges, and putting all the material there for the salespeople to then go and sell them. And I had a real sense that they just weren't having the right conversations with the customers. Maybe they didn't have enough information. Maybe they weren't comfortable enough having those conversations. And I ended up in a real battle with people and with my salespeople, with me like pushing this, of saying you need to do this, or you need to do that, or you need to have these conversations. And it's almost like, when somebody doesn't speak your language, and you've got these people who just speak louder and think that maybe by just speaking louder, the other person's going to understand. Well, in some ways, that's what I was doing. So I was trying to think of all sorts of ways to convince them, but that wasn't working. And what did work was when I stopped and I said, okay, what do I need to change? Because talking louder, coming up with more arguments isn't working. So what do I need to change so that the other person has a different reaction to this? So I started to listen more. I started to notice that some of my salespeople at the time were just too busy. Others were worried about having a different conversation with their customers and what this might mean. And others were just uncertain about the whole thing. And until they actually tried it, they weren't really going to go forward and do anything different. So I changed my approach, and what I did in that circumstance, and it took me quite a while. Okay, so what I did was I offered to go along with them. I offered to go along to some of the conversations and have the part of the conversation with the client that I wanted them to have. So I put myself out there, and I just said, well, I'll come and help. What help do you need? Let me know what help you need. I also got really into, by listening, what it was that they were looking for. What did they want when they were in front of the customers? Because it's not that they didn't want to sell the new ranges. Of course, they wanted to sell the new ranges. That would mean more money for everybody, including for them and their bonuses. But how could I make it really easy for them to do? What were their concerns, and where could I help? So I got really into working with the salespeople and going along with them and doing something. So I changed my behavior. I changed what I did, and that eventually got them to see what it was that they could do, how they could interact in different ways. So what is it if you are, if you are having a thought at the moment of, how can I get my colleagues, one question I had this week, how can I get my colleagues to be more responsive, to put their egos to one side when we're working on a particular project? What is it that you need to do to enable that? What is it that you need to change in order to enable that? And this has this week come all down to mindset. And it's always about mindset. At least, that's where a lot of things start. So what is it that you need to believe in order to see that change happen? Are you thinking, for example, that this change is difficult, that it's not going to happen? In this situation that I'm talking about, it was there's a team of people that need to come together to produce a plan for the organization, and there are two factions. So there are two groups that are fighting, and so whenever there's something that's a little bit tricky to resolve and come to, they're blaming each other. So what do you need to do if you're the person chairing this, if you're the person bringing these people together? What do you need to do in order to change that dynamic? And if you are thinking that there are two factions, that they're warring, that this is going to be really difficult, that egos are getting in the way, that they can't help but fight, then that's what you're bringing into the situation. And I'm not telling you to lie to yourself. So you need to be realistic. But you can change your approach by thinking about it differently. So if you come into this situation saying, okay, so there are two groups here, they have had this relationship in the past, they've had these conflict issues in the past, but how can we create a different environment? These are people who are adults, who are, if they're fighting, then it means that they feel passionate about something. So how can we use that passion to help us move forward? The other way that mindset has come into my coaching conversations this week has been around people asking me the question, but Sonia, am I really a leader? What is this word, leadership? I had a question the other day in, I have a membership called the Rising Leaders Circle, and we have a group of amazing people in there, and we coach every week. And one of the questions, I can't even remember what the question was, but there was a question, I think it was one of these actually. It was a question around getting their boss to do something, and it was also this question around the two factions. It came up both times, and the implication or the little side comment was, but this isn't leadership. And this is where we needed to get into a conversation around mindset and what leadership is, and how actually we are all leaders in some environment. Leadership, leading is a verb, so it's something that we do. So whether you're at home and with the kids, or whether you're at your local club, or if we talk about it in a work context, there are always times when you will lead. And therefore, all of these questions around managing other people, managing conversations, getting other people to do certain things or convince them, influence them, they are all in the domain of leadership. So how can you think of yourself as a leader? When is it that you lead, and where are you on that journey? And this is something that I really wanted to talk about. I said in my little preamble that I wanted to talk about leadership in terms of a new role model for leadership. I really do think that we are in dire need of a new role model for leadership. And I think a lot of these questions about am I a leader come up because we don't have adequate role models. We don't have role models that show strength, power, if you want to use that word, decisiveness, and huge big and empathy, compassion, kindness, fun, collaboration, all of those things together. It's like we have this image of leadership that is this person at the top of something, having complete control. And that's not the only model of leadership. And actually, it's one that doesn't particularly inspire me. And I think that at every stage of our career, we're on that road to leadership. We're on a road that is a journey. So I always say that leadership is a journey and not a destination, and all our journeys are different, and we have different stops along the way and different learnings along the way. And I think that we need a form of leadership that is much more inclusive, and not just inclusive in terms of people, but also in terms of people and the agendas that we have in the world. So whether we're talking about diversity and inclusion, whether we're talking about sustainability, whether we're talking about climate change, any of the issues that seem to be big issues but around the periphery, we need a model of leadership that brings them all in, and that puts it at the heart of what we do and who we are, that is as inclusive as it possibly can be, that is able to see leadership everywhere that it exists. And this is a conversation that I've been having quite a lot with people at different stages of their careers, from first-time managers to very senior individuals in organizations. And one of the things that I've found really interesting is that a lot of the time people don't stop to figure out where they are on the journey. So what is the journey that I'm on, and where am I? I had one instance last week and this week of someone who just seems to be on a treadmill of the next promotion and the next job or the next role, and without any clear vision of where they want to get to, what that destination might look like, whether the next role and the next position is actually what they need, what they want. So a sense almost that comes with that of trepidation, that if I go with it and go for it, will it be okay? And will I be able to do that? And is it what I really want? So I do have a journey that I've mapped out that you can find here. It's for free. You can just just download it, and it shows you my a roadmap, so a journey for success, if you like. And if I can figure out how to do this, let me see if I can share. So there it is. There you go. So hopefully you can see this, and it's just a very there you go. I just disappeared from my screen for some reason for a second. So I just wanted to share this. So it's just a very simple picture of my journey for success. So if I go through it really quickly, so we start off at operational genius. Now, these are the people who I recognize myself in this, you know, where you've been great at delivery, great at getting things done, at mobilizing stuff, and you're really recognized for that in the organization. And that's what you're known for. That's what you're rewarded for. And then suddenly what happens is that because of that, you get promoted to a position where now you also, in addition to still delivering, you have to also deliver with other people. And that can be quite a little bit of an uncomfortable stage. So there's a little bit of a crossroads between each of these stages, because now some of the questions become, how do I add value? How do I, if I have been adding value by delivering and getting things done, then what's the value that I add now? And some questions come up around how other people might do things and how that's different for you. And are they as good as I am? Can they deliver in the same way? So that operational genius area is one that is amazing and yet tricky to navigate when you have to actually still be delivering, but through other people. And then as you go around this, explorer is when you are having to work with others more, and you really need to explore yourself, who you are, what your values are, what your beliefs are, what your mindset is. Because if you don't know that, then how can you manage or lead or understand anybody else? Then the guide is really that area when you've got an established team and you're trying to get that team now. You've realized that you've got to do stuff through the team. And how do you get the team to be really high performance? So again, there's a lot of questions that you need to ask yourself in there. Then driver is when your team is on fire. Your team's on fire. They're achieving, they're producing. And now there are some questions for you around what next? Is this somewhere comfortable for me to stay? Do I want to stay here? Do I want anything else? And if I do want anything else, then what is it? And then the final stage is visionary, where actually it's about your purpose. It's about your vision, not only for the organization, for your team, but for yourself as well. What's your legacy going to be? And even though this is, I've like gone 1 to 5, I'm sure you'll see that at every stage new questions come up. So even at the visionary stage, that's not the end. That's almost an opportunity to go round that circle again and ask yourself those questions from a different perspective. And as you look at this, it would be really good if you could tell me what stage you think you're at. Maybe it's a bit of a game of Twister and you're in between some stages. And therefore, what are the questions that you're asking yourself? If you, let me go back here. So if you go to the link, here you'll get my guide, and there'll be some of the questions in there that you could ask yourself. Some of the areas that I really think you need to be looking at each of those stages. So tell me what stage you're at. Tell me which ones of the questions really resonate with you, and what that mindset is that you need to develop at each of those stages. It would be really interesting to hear your thoughts. So those have been my sort of ramblings for today. A little bit about that question, how do I get somebody else to do something, and how it's really important for you to look at yourself. What behavior do you change? What belief maybe do you change to inspire that change in somebody else? The importance of mindset and your beliefs in all of this, and a roadmap for leadership, which I hope will inspire more people to see themselves as leaders, more people to see themselves on the journey, and more people inspired to create a different leadership model. So I'll be back again next week, definitely here on Friday at 12:30-ish, but hopefully in the rest of the week too, with answering any of your questions. So speak to you soon. Bye.